Hello, everybody, and welcome back to day number 2 of the SEL Fall Finals. We are about to take off into our last set of the day, but before we get into that, I want to go ahead and remind you guys back at home, we do still have our discount happening right now for the superhero chest. You can get 25% off on that. It includes really cool skins like the superhero ROM skin.
Some fancy razzle-dazzle skins, actually the ROM. I know that you guys over there really like the ROM, huh?
What, on Xbox?
I mean, a little bit.
Or us, ourselves?
Yeah,
I mean, Zaxi can play, but, you know, it's not as big as on PC. Yeah.
Of course.
It's fun, though.
Kind of just to be expected, but it's always one of those possibilities. So, yeah, just a really cool thing for you guys to check out. And, of course, like I mentioned, we are about to take off into our last set of the day, but I want to just take a look at what's already happened. Earlier, we just saw Astral versus Kaz, Obey versus Elevate, and also Soar and Myth Gaming, excuse me, playing against each other. And these have been some pretty exciting matches, I would say. Last match went a little bit under the radar, but that's just kind of expected. Kaz does have those 2 subs. Gotta emphasize on that point because it is a very large competitive disadvantage.
I mean, we all know what happens whenever there's not a full roster. I know you guys had some issues in the online portion with Doris at one point, and, you know, mentally it takes a toll on you, but it's more important how you guys bounce back after the fact.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, it's always tough whenever you don't have all your players on there, because it kind of just messes with your chemistry, whether it be, you know, scrims or, you know, actual games. It's always tough because you got to kind of switch up what you're doing, and it can mess with what you do later on. So, yeah, I feel bad for those guys because, I mean, you can tell that they would actually be pretty good if they had all their players because they know what they're doing. Yeah, you know, it seems like EU is kind of getting to that point where they know everything you're doing. So, if you mess up against those guys, you can pay for it really bad.
That's the main thing to keep in mind. And for everybody else, want to go ahead and introduce Firdaus. He's actually the coach for Obey, not just wearing that jersey as a fan. And as a coach, and you're looking at these 2 teams that are coming up, Eanix against Strictly Business, what would you say is probably the main factor I guess for you kind of just want to see a split happen?
Yes.
So
that's what we're praying for. But the main thing, honestly, like, if Koiz can just keep doing what he was doing against us, like if he can stay in that comfort zone and play the guys that he wants, it's going to be so big for them. But what I'm looking for, honestly, is to Koiz to lead this team, because he's definitely the vocal leader on that team, and he needs to make sure that Kaeydan is, you know, comfortable with what he's doing, because that's another big part. If he's playing good, that whole team is going to play great.
We definitely heard Matt Koiz yesterday just pop off against Elevate. I hope he still has a voice for this game.
And also, I mean, looking at this team, Eanix, there was a lot of speculation for them coming to this LAN. They were an European team, rose seemingly out of nowhere, and just kind of just banded together and have seemed like the team to be out of Europe. And, I mean, they're making waves over here at LAN, and it's kind of insane. We already saw what happened, and there's a reason why we keep talking about it from yesterday. And I'm so sorry, Firdaus, for reminding you, but this kid is absolutely nuts at the game.
Yeah. He definitely is. The kid has a lot of raw skill. I mean, he's young, so, you know, that reaction time is naturally going to be there. In my opinion, I think the young players are really good at that, but he knows a lot about the game too, and that's what kind of shocked me. It was kind of like I wanted to get in his head a little bit, you know, screaming in the crowd, and I wanted them to do that, but like he just stayed so calm and cool and, you know, collected, and he played well. And his whole team just kind of capitalized also. Also, another player's V50M Fly, or 50-meter fly. He's so good at what he does. He played very comfortable on his gods. Very good.
And when you're watching players like Vaporish Coast and like 50-meter fly, and you're talking about this raw mechanical talent, how do you think that that's going to factor in for Strictly Business, or I guess for their team mentality for Eanix?
What, like his ability, like his mechanical ability?
Yes, as far as like drafting and all that good stuff's concerned.
Yeah, so I think they necessarily don't have to build around his god, because it seems like he's comfortable with, you know, a couple picks that maybe he even still has some pocket picks. I feel like they don't have to do that. As long as he's comfortable with whatever he picks is good. They need to build around 50-meter fly, in my opinion. I think Dineohsaw is really big for him to get on his comfort gods too, because he can apply so much pressure, especially with like his Sobek and everything, because we all know he loves playing that god.
these two players, specifically Vaporish and Dineohsaw, it almost looks like he's the bigger brother, just to, help out his hunter. You know, and when I first saw this little kid, I thought he was like, 11 years old. Like, what is he doing here?
Yeah.
Is he legally allowed to be here? Honestly, but yeah, he actually is, and Dineohsaw is protecting his little boy.
Even looking at Eanix's online split, I would have never assumed that Vaporish is as young as he actually is because of the talent that he brought out then during the online portion. And to see him carry that over into a LAN environment at such a young age, it's just absolutely phenomenal to witness. And Dineohsaw, again, I think these two go hand in hand, two peas in a pod, a very solid duo lane. And it's going to be a very difficult task that Matt Koiz, you already mentioned it for your side. You said you want to see him step up. This is the duo lane, I think, to step it up against.
Yeah, for sure. If he can make that dual lane kind of feel uncomfortable, kind of do what we didn't do and make hosts play uncomfortably, don't let him get so comfortable in that lane and then let it then factor into the late game. If he can kind of control the game himself with his comms and, his presence and everything, I think it's really big for SB.
And it's one thing that's been said time and time again. Matt Koiz is technically the most winningest LAN player for the box, and it's something to always keep in mind. We actually had a chance to sit down and talk with Matt Koiz as well, pick his brain on how he felt about this upcoming event, and here it is for you guys to see.
On a team, I would say, I had a really hard time finding a team. I tried like a bunch of CC teams. I created my own CC team, but none of the real SCL teams wanted me really until like something happened, and then like something happened with Elevate. Teams like went everywhere. So I got an offer, I picked it up, and that's basically, that's history right there. So I really think it's because people thought I was washed up. I lost Worlds, and then I didn't play because I was a coach for Astral for the whole, I think, summer split. And then I was trying to come back for fall, but no one really, I was like asking teams, but no one really wanted to support, I guess. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll play mid, but I don't really have a track record on any other role but support really. So I think that's the only reason why people didn't want me. My expectation is to make Worlds, basically. Anything other than making Worlds is a failure, just because like I've been to every Xbox Worlds myself, personally. So if I don't make Worlds, it'd just be like, we just failed as a team, basically. So making Worlds, obviously, is the #1 thing.
Do or die, it seems, for this team. Matt Koiz in particular, it's really a tough circumstance to come into, but it's very clear that Worlds is the top priority here.
A lot of weight on his shoulders. He was talking about how, he's had so much LAN experience, participating in every single Worlds, and the last one specifically, showing a lot of emotion on the stage after losing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when you're a player like Matt Koiz and you've been around the game for so long and you have had the success that he has, it kind of sucks not, getting to where you want to be. Kind of hurts your ego a little bit too. So I think it's really important for him to reach it personally, but I think it'll be big for everybody on that team. That team can really benefit from making Worlds, and it's just the best experience ever.
And we touched on it briefly where you wanted to see Matt Koiz stepping it up and playing it up against the dual lane out of Eanix. Now it's time to see whether or not Strictly Business did a little bit of homework themselves. I mean, they got a great chance to watch back probably the VOD of yesterday where you guys faced off against Eanix, Firdo. So looking towards this game, if you had the insight from back then, because hindsight's 2020, what would you prioritize here in picks and bans?
For SB or Eanix?
For SB, if you're SB.
For SB, I would definitely look to, like, banning-wise, I still wouldn't want to leave a comfort pick for the jungler Auzrik. He's really comfortable on a Wheelix and pressure gods, so I think still keeping that out of his hand so he doesn't kind of get into that zone. I think that's really important, so I'm looking for a Wheelix to be like a ban here for SB, but, we'll see.
Early game is the key to the pressure to winning a lot of these lane controls, especially around that solo jungle side, and that's something a lot of these teams in the console world have been dictating in their strategy. Serket is the option, not going to be the Awilish.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Just because like Serket has had a good showing on land and everything, but I don't see Auzrik playing that god. I mean, maybe he would just because of the success in the land. I don't know, but I definitely would have figured early pressure would be the main thing for Eanix. Maybe even a Uller ban there, honestly, would have made more sense.
We've actually seen the European teams leaning a little bit towards that Susano pickup. And what is your mentality on this? Like, how do you feel Susano really sits in this meta right now?
Susano's weird because it's really hard to get through like that early phase. Like the early levels are so tough for Susano. He still has a great team fight presence and everything. Like it's great if you can get going with him, but he can fall behind so fast, and it's just one of those gods that if he does fall behind, it's really tough to get back from.
Something we haven't seen in a hot minute was this Chulainn coming through after the first pick, after the second and third pick, reaching all the way to pick number 4 for Eanix. You know, it wasn't banned away, in which a lot of teams actually prefer to do. And with the Xing, you got the frontline aggression from Chulainn, the backline peel from Xing.
I love it.
Eanix, straight from the get-go, just 3 incredibly beefy frontliners, and I absolutely love. I mean, you were just about to say it. You know, it's the Xing with that Sylvanus. That is, I think, a beautiful combination because of the Chulainn.
Yeah, you have engage, more than enough engage, honestly. Even if Sylvanus goes like blink, you're set. But you also have peel and you have sustain. So this comp right now, honestly, in my opinion, fits Eanix very well. You get a little bit less pressure on the solo side with Xing, but he doesn't need that. So now what Auzrik can look to do is kind of get his mid and dual lane ahead. Get Vaporish comfortable.
Do you think that Street in the Business are going to maybe look to take away purely hunters, or maybe try and take a couple shots at Auzrik as well?
I think if it was me, I don't know what Strictly Business is looking to do, but I would still look to keep that solo and jungle, you know, tame. You have to control them because we have seen it through the online split. I mean, those guys kind of take over. So if you can stop that from happening, the best way to stop that from happening is, you know, picks and bans. So if you can pick away a couple gods from them or ban a couple gods from them, you'll be good.
I mean, I think that Kaeydan is really preferring the Thor here recently, and Eanix should probably look to ban that away. Osiris is already the selection for a Strictly Business solo laner here. Jarman is going to be looking to make some offensive plays, especially against this Guardian Xing solo lane, and got to pair it up with an aggressive jungler.
Well, Strictly Business have a ton of damage just between that Muzen and the Thoth selection, but when it comes to the setup for either of these two gods, a lot of CC is kind of lacking here for SB, and for Eanix, they've certainly got to recognize that.
This Bastet ban is very curious to me from Eanix.
I don't know why they banned Nox and Soul. They had the mid laner already.
Yeah, I mean, Nox and Soul from Strictly Business, they banned Strictly Business side. They still need their backline
right,
there.
Yeah, no, gotcha. Yeah, I completely got confused. I was looking at SB's picks.
Eanix, though, however, banning away the Bastet is a little confusing on my perspective, simply because this is not a goddess we've seen very often. You know, she doesn't really have that CC immunity. Now, she does a lot of damage in the late game, but that's if she gets there.
Yeah, exactly. I don't agree with the Bastet ban. I mean, I haven't seen Kaeydan play it outside of, you know, scrims or anything like that. I don't think that's something that he would go with. I would have liked to see definitely a Thor ban, because for some reason Kaeydan for the last 2 lands actually has been getting that Thor, and he's so comfortable on it.
I mean, Thor is just a well-rounded god if you think about it. Global pressure, has a long-range stun, a long-range poke, and then the closer you are to him, the more damage he's going to deal back to you. Terra is going to be the selection, knowing that there's no need to rush the jungle pick quite yet.
Yeah, for sure. The Terra pick is good because you kind of have to compete with that sustain from Sylvanus even just a little bit. So I agree with it. I don't know how good he's going to play the Terra, but it is Koiz. He's very good on that god. So I think they're going to have a good showing on it.
But it does still question or raise the concern again about having that lack of setup for this Thoth pick. It's something where if you have to apply that pressure unnecessarily onto your mid, then sure, you've got to have the confidence in your team. And I'm certain that Street Business is a team to have confidence in their mid laner to connect with his abilities, but I would still just generally be concerned because Eanix has a lot of ways to escape from what SB is trying to throw at him.
They have a root, they have a lot of knockups there as well. Xing and Sylvanus is going to keep people locked down, and Chulainn is going to make sure that he chases anyone that's really low.
Yeah, I think the main thing that they're looking to do is kind of focus out the Sylvanus. It's kind of easy to kill Sylvanus with the Terra and the Thoth combination, you know, with Osiris and everything. So the Sylvanus might have a bad showing. We'll have to see how Eanix plays it, but he's looked pretty comfortable on that god so far. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
for Dineohsaw in particular, the Sylvanus positioning is probably going to be the most important part. But I don't think that Dineohsaw's had any issues with that so far. Whether or not Sugar Biz is going to force him to mix it up a little bit, that's another question for later on down the line. And instead, we're seeing the Scylla and the Cernunnos. What's that? I heard the sigh. What's going through your mind?
I hate Scylla right now. It's like Scylla just struggles in this meta right now, in my opinion. She's so easy to kill. I mean, you think, you know, she's so safe with her escapes and everything, but like those don't even count right now. Like you can just focus her so easily, especially with a Thoth. You can from long range just kill her whenever she goes in ult. They have such good dive on that SB team, in my opinion. So I don't know about the Scylla pick, but I do like the Kern pick because it does offer pressure on that side, and I think he'll play good on it. And I love this Thor pick.
I mean, that's just Kaeydan right there in a nutshell.
Yeah.
That man on your screen loves the Thor. It's going to synergize very well with this long-range poke on the Thoth. And I think that SB's draft is very well-rounded here.
Yeah,
SB's draft for sure, and the Thor also I think provides that little bit of a setup that I think they might have been missing initially. Now you can have Kaeydan come crashing down with that anvil and make sure to try and set up his mid laner there on that Thoth. But it's still going to be one of those things though of high execution, and I do feel looking at these two drafts as though Eanix could possibly have a little bit more wiggle room as far as mistakes are concerned.
It seems that way, right? Scylla needs to connect those roots, needs to be patient about waiting for the setup between Xing Chen knockup, maybe even the root from Sylvanus, or just a straight up blink ultimate from Chulainn. I'm expecting Auzrik potentially to pick that up at level 1.
Yeah, I'm looking for Xing Shin and Chulainn to definitely be kind of like you know, that strong force in the front line, you know, just getting a whole bunch of stuff from SB. Don't let this Thoth free cast on you. And if you do all that, you should be fine. But I'm also looking for Kaeydan to be aggressive because he's been kind of passive this line. And I feel like if he can play with confidence this game, he can really be that catalyst.
Well, now's the time. You know, they split against Elevate yesterday, against Eanix here today. They split against you guys yesterday. You know, everyone is just split down the middle. It's time for somebody to kind of step it up here.
Yeah, kind of like us, right?
Yeah.
What if it's Eanix, though? I mean, Eanix has got to be feeling really good. Cernunnos is one of those hunters that kind of permits Vaporish to do what he wants to do, and that's just work his way around the back line, throwing out as much damage as possible. This is a great boxing lane between the AMC and the Kern.
It seems that way too. Cernunnos having that double sustain, as long as you build Devo gloves, you switch to that spring season stance, you should be fine to solo Gold Furies pretty early on here.
Yeah, Cernunnos, you know, he'll be fine in lane as long as you don't like, you know, panic relic, kind of like Saxy did earlier. But no, Kern is usually safe. He's definitely going to have, you know, a good pressure lane. He'll have good boxing matches with AMC. And I'm looking for Koiz to kind of force these fights, kind of feel him out a little bit, see how he kind of reacts to his play style. I'm looking for that for sure.
Especially the way he played yesterday.
Yeah.
He felt very confident there, and just a lot of energy all across the board for Eanix. And we'll see if that's going to carry here in the second day.
You think we're going to hear anything about it after this set is done and over with this best step ban?
I mean,
That's got to be somebody saying something about a pocket. I just can't see it being for nothing.
maybe it was just a throwaway ban. They didn't either know what to ban specifically, or maybe they just don't care what Kaeydan was going to play.
I think that was, I mean, maybe it's that because, like I said, he hasn't had the best showing, but at the same time, it's like, I just feel like it was bad information. Like Thor, you've seen Kaeydan like from DreamHack, like I said, you know, playing Thor, and he plays amazing on it on the online phase. I don't see the step ban at all. I don't know.
Just not really working out for you, but
Yeah.
I am certainly very excited. Actually, just keeping in mind these two drafts, I'm also really wanting to pay attention to the fact that Terra doesn't have that root anymore.
Yeah.
That patch has long since happened, which is, I think, the main reason why we've seen her fall so out of favor amongst the console and PC side of things. But against a Scylla, that global movement speed could still be very important as far as chase and dive is concerned.
You don't necessarily need the Terra root when you look at the rest of the draft from SB. Having the Thor wall stun, having Osiris to keep you in place with a tether, and then his slows, you're really looking at those two with the Thoth long-range stun to set up something else.
Yeah, I don't think the Thoth needs much setup, in my opinion. He's so good, honestly, by himself. Even if he has just a little bit of setup, he should be fine. And honestly, when you have a Thoth in your team, like you have so much presence late game to just win a match off of one team fight. Like it can happen at any second. Thoth can literally just kill your backline. You can't do anything about it. And Terra, honestly, I feel like she just kind of got like a shift. Yeah, so I don't know. It all depends on how Koiz plays it. If he can, play that shift well, I think they'll have a good showing.
Well, I'm definitely really excited to see what happens between these two teams, especially since they've both already shown some very strong performances. For you to decide, who do you have taking game number 1?
Game number 1, I want to give it to Eanix, just because I really like their front line. I like what they got going in the back line too. Yeah, I'm looking for them to take this game.
I actually have it for strictly business here. I think their draft is more well-rounded, and I think that they honestly have more synergy between their picks. I got to give it to SB.
We'll split down the middle with you two, so time to find out who exactly is going to be victor of game number 1 as we take it away to the casters.
Thanks a lot, Taco. Tom Battinger here with Ryan Bailey. Fantastic setup, Eanix and SB. Yesterday, Eanix were the team on the scene. I mean,
yeah.
Vaporish Coast was the guy to watch. Can you do it again?
I mean, the Cernunnos this time up against the Muzen Cobb, you can play aggressive in that matchup, and I think that's important for Vaporish to get some confidence again. I can't imagine how much more confidence he needs because he soloed Zaxian lane yesterday, and then he got a pentakill. But, I mean, just to get off to a good foot, that can be an advantageous matchup, or that can be one where Cernunnos kind of struggles. That's how it is against AMC, in my mind, with every hunter. AMC has kill potential, other hunter has kill potential. So whoever's going to be able to get a lead in that lane is going to really be a big factor in this game, and that's one of the lanes that's really important here.
Big thing for me on Eanix is Scylla in that mid lane. There's a lot of potential there, but Scylla has had a lot of issues historically here at LAN for pretty much no reason. It's just, it's like watching players sort of talk about which side they want to play on. There's no rhyme or reason to why she's really doing poorly. It's not a meta thing. Everybody that's played her just sort of struck out.
And that's just, in my mind, a lot of nerves, because Scylla is a character that does well off of setup and sets up for herself very well. And when you're missing things off of setup, or when you've set up yourself, then that's just LAN getting to you, in my mind. Or the fact that you're just an inconsistent, you're inconsistent in that role. Though, usually if you're here at LAN, that's not the case. So I agree with you. I still think I've always been a big proponent of Scylla. It was a god that I was very, very comfortable on and wanted to play in big play situations because of how game-changing she can be. Whether it's the ultimate or just, hitting a multi-man root into a crush, I mean, that can win you a team fight without a doubt.
That's the key there. Is everybody focuses on the ultimate, and like, we have the saying that I'm not.
What's the saying?
I don't know what you're talking about, actually.
Wait, what do you? I don't know what you're talking about.
So in one team fight,
okay,
one ultimate can change the entire course of a game.
From any god, or like from Scylla specifically?
From Scylla.
Oh, because it does a lot of damage?
No, because when you get one kill, it'll reset and you can do it again.
Wait, really?
That
never happened to me.
Yeah, because you don't actually get the kill.
No, I got kills.
I don't know about that one.
Wait, one team fight can change the entire course of a game?
Yeah, we've actually seen it multiple times. This whole you're smarter than this, and it's not working for you. You need to put this bid.
Okay.
You need to put it away.
Okay, no, I'm starting to see it now. I'm starting to. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I can buy that.
I can't apologize enough for my co-commentator. Unfortunately, he's pretending to be stupid.
I'm just trying to understand the game at a deeper level, and I appreciate you helping me out with that.
He's actually a very talented commentator. I swear.
Thank you.
Just not right now. But as we get into the game, maybe that's going to change a little bit. SB's jungler, Kaeydan, goes to the Thor, one of the characters. Kaeydan's actually, I won't call him the Achilles heel of this SB team, but he's certainly not the focal point.
No.
His Thor is a character that he can pilot well, though.
It is, and that's been the question mark regarding this SB team ever since Kaeydan joined it. Kaeydan has some of the highest highs in the SCL among junglers. I mean, he has games where he looks unstoppable. He's doing it all for this squad. Unfortunately, those games are usually online. In fact, they've almost always been online. Now, under the sword tag, Kaeydan did have a very good spring land here in these studios. So. He looked really, really good, and that's why it was kind of surprising to a lot of us that when we came to DreamHack Valencia, he looked abysmal. I mean, there's no other word for it. So how well can he play at this LAN? I mean, he's had one really great LAN so far this year and one really bad one. So which Kaeydan are we going to get here in this one? Thor, a comfort pick for him, but one one that Thor is a character that I think you can start to feel when you're not hitting things. I mean, you start to second guess yourself on the ultimate.
Yeah.
You're second guessing if you're going for poke or if you're going to teleport in. That can end up impacting him, and I'm interested to see how well he plays in this one.
We're going to get into game in just a moment here. That in and out really kind of
I know.
messes with me. It's kinda fun.
There was like, I wanted like some sort of 90s. Yeah, like exactly one of those. If you could just do it again next time.
Well, we're gonna go into game, so here we go.
No, it's the picks and bans.
Oh no, I thought we were going into game. All right.
That would, you were like a real Mario there, like.
Like Mario. Here we go.
Now
Game
it's my
number
turn to apologize for my co-caster. At times he's very talented. This is not one of those times.
Whomp. I'm actually just a sound effects man.
That's all. I know that's what you actually want to be.
Oh my god, you have no idea. Not just the god names, but also like the noises they make. I would totally be down.
We should do like a segment in between like switching desks or whatever, like name that ability, and it's just you like making the noise, and then we come back to it, and it's like that was Book of Demons. Like,
Top manager at the furry desk here. One thing. Name this ultimate. Blah.
Jean-Quiel.
There you go. Bang. You win a banana. Right side. Predator's going to try and defend his buff. Does have the hand of the gods. We've seen this a number of times. I'm going to call this the dwarfed approach because he does this pretty often. Auzrik, however, might fall down. That's not something you want to do often. Dwarfs does this often, specifically on the Xing Chen. He goes Xing Chen, he gets a hand of the gods, and he tries to defend his buff, usually successfully.
And it's successful even with Auzrik getting poked out so heavily on that right-hand side. That threat of the hand of the gods just so much that it's not worth for Strictly Business to try and invade that buff. So instead they go to lane, push that under tower. Now they're going to rotate in and be able to pick up these fire elementals. So they're still going to be ahead because of the neutral farm going their way, but not exactly what they wanted. Would have preferred to get that first blood, or at least have Predators be the one who got poked out very low so that they could invade that buff successfully.
And here, Vaporish Coast just going to solo his own buffs and then head to lane next to Matt Koiz, support player here on Terra. Kaeydan getting very low here. A lot of rumble going on in the solo lane.
That's the console league for you. They love to 2v2 in this lane, and that's why Chulainn is really impactful in the jungle. Have actually forced Kaeydan into using that purification beads already.
Scylla's going to pop down the crush. Detonates it way early. Way early. Not going to be the case. Nice. Kaeydan just barely getting out of there. That, again, could have been lethal. Just like before, it could have been lethal for Auzrik. Back and forth we go.
Both junglers getting poked out heavily. Auzrik completely out of potions. Now Kaeydan also completely out of potions. Now, no speed buff yet for Kaeydan, so he's going to be able to go heal up off of that buff if he gets a chance, but look at where Eanix is going, into that opposite jungle. This is the risk where you try and take the trade. Now you end up losing that trade, and all of a sudden they can just go and take your buffs because they're still up.
Exactly. Keep in mind, Predators, because there was no contest coming out from SB, still has that hand of the gods. You know, it's actually interesting. Yesterday during Eanix's game, we were talking about how Eanix was contesting even the straight predictable losses, right? Just making the opponent work for it. If SP makes Eanix work for those buffs and they have to drop the hog, Predators and friends don't even think about going for the invade. But that said, SP chases them out and they don't successfully do it either way.
Yeah, I wonder if it's better with Predators having the hog there. I think I would have preferred to have Eanix actually start up that blue buff and sacrifice the majority of that wave in order to get the buff in their favor. Just a little bit too conservative in my mind. Normally you want to be conservative with a Xing Chen in the solo lane, but when you've got the hand of the gods and you haven't been forced to use it quite yet, then that's an opportunity that you kind of have to take advantage of.
Exactly. When you're taking hog, you're losing out on whatever other relic you might have wanted. You see a horrific emblem across the way, maybe a sprint would be good to counteract that, but you went hog. So if you're going to sort of hamstring yourself, if you will, actually use it. That's a problem if you're just not going to do it. Ryan, Jarman.
Ozrik's dead. Ozrik's just completely dead here.
Oh, he got stunned, and he is! Ryman Jarman with the jump on top. Easy first blood.
2v1 as well. Auzrik just wasn't able to transform. He's got no purification beads. I wonder if he could have blinked right before the stun went off. I think that's the only way that he gets out of there because he'd already used that Salmon's Leap to try and get away. That's just using the power of the Osiris, and that's why I love Osiris as the return pick after Eanix first selects Xing Chen. Xing Chen has been the guy, basically, not only in this land, but at Super Regionals as well, that really dictated a lot of these games. And so it's not too surprising to see see Eanix first pick it, but it a great understanding by Strictly Business to say, okay, you can take that. We're going to take pressure on our side lanes. We're going to take Osiris and Muzen Cobb and try and get pressure on both of the sides of the map, and then try and utilize that to exploit the weaknesses of Xing Chen, which is that early game.
And, you know, this opens up a larger conversation about the meta. Vaporish going to get stunned out by Matt Koiz, slowed as well, but should generally be fine. I think AMC is too far away to really impact this, and dual lane will meet up, high five, and go for the red buff. Right side, blue buff, being aggressed on. Predators just quietly takes up his own blue. Meanwhile, pancake flip on Ryan Jarman. Eanix looking for revenge. Ultimate out of Predators. Jarman relatively low, but Auzrik lower. Very close to death. And Kaeydan going to take to the sky. Jarman gets it off screen with a hit. And Kaeydan not going to find the ultimate. Doesn't need to, though, as B puts number 2 up.
That horrific emblem has done so much already for Eanix.
Strong.
It's so strong, especially when you think that the enemy Guardian solo is going to be getting something like Hand of the Gods. Final Judgment just off there for oBoronic. Not sure it would have been enough to bring them down anyways, but at least would have forced Predators back to base.
That was... straight up, I apologize if the whistle picked up on the mic badly. That was just a true raw reaction, because that was just a nice little jump out of the way.
Yeah, that
really, it was a good-looking dodge.
It was, and
That's what I like.
you also gotta respect the Boronic's just shooting his shot. You know what I mean?
Always.
Without any setup. I think if he realizes that he doesn't get the kill in that position, he probably doesn't shoot it in the first place. But Boronic's a confident mid laner, and he should be, because he's one of the premier mids in the league.
Which is a great story. I think there's a lot of players like oBoronic here in the console league where, you know, they started off at a relatively, you know, moderate, like average place, because you get better with good competition, right? And when you're just sort of spamming ranked before the onset of the league, you're ceilinged, right? You're glass ceilinged. And now all of a sudden you get to watch these players. oBoronic was not one of the stronger players in the league once upon a time, and now he's, like you said, one of the premier mids that I look forward to catching.
It's funny that you bring that up, because I saw a tweet from Chapo earlier today that said, you know, I tuned into the console land, and most of the names I just recognized from them trolling my ranked games a couple years ago, and now they're here and playing really well. And just the nature of the beast, the nature of the league, where, you know, you start to have some trouble at the beginning, you start to not be where you want to be, and then you get on the come up, you get on the grind, you start to work on it, and you get better very quickly. And that's certainly been the case for guys like oBoronic, like Fatal Ghost, like Ryan Jarman. I mean, all those guys have been around for a little bit now and didn't find success at first, but are now considered to be a top 2 team.
Jarman, previously known as Nickwood, been in the scene for a long time. Dineohsaw gonna get just looked at. And, you know, Nickwood, longtime supporter of the scene. Even before he was playing, he was like casting games on his channel, having some fun with it. That's just a slow. I don't think it's going to be too big of a deal for the Cernunnos player right now so far.
Koiz caught the dash. That's why I kind of was surprised. And Koiz looks very comfortable on this Terra, a god that we haven't seen a lot of recently, as they mentioned on the desk, after losing her root on the 3. It's not been quite as popular, but still's got a really impactful global ultimate that you've got to use.
Auzrik deals with 2 separate players by himself, secures his own speed buff successfully. And, you know, I mentioned that this Eanix squad was one of the European teams that caught my eye a long time ago. And it was Auzrik specifically that caught my eye. And you know what's funny? I think the players surrounding him have surpassed him at this point. But at one point in time, Auzrik was the guy on this team, and now his squad is looking to collapse around Dineohsaw.
There's a sprint pop to get him out of that horrific emblem slow. Crush off the mark there for 50-meter fly route as well. Couple missed abilities there that could have turned that fight in Eanix's favor. Jarman still had the ultimate, so it's going to be hard to bring him down, especially with him having Silver Talisman complete. He's going for some early health and magical defense, but that you got to be a little bit more accurate there if you're a 50-meter fly.
Dineohsaw, on the other hand, I feel like missed Sylvanus pulls are not something to cry about. It's sort of when you grab it, it's something nice.
Yes.
Dineohsaw was off by such a minimal amount. If he grabs that player, everything is different there for Eanix.
Completely agree. Unless it's off of a route, you know, your Sylvanus route or whatever, in which case I am definitely flaming you in my ranking.
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, you toss out the Sylvanus pull like every time it's up. And if you grab somebody, you have a party, you hit that pinata. And if you don't, well, you just move on.
Sometimes I even like to throw in a little 360 action. Try and keep it spicy.
So that's why you don't hit anything.
Yeah. But when I do, though.
Going back to, you mentioned, oBoronic not being afraid to sort of shoot his shot. I like that, especially in the early stages. Coming back to sort of just toss out every pull. Listen, the difference, is your ultimate going to make the difference in a team fight between, at like 4 minutes? Probably not. Just use it.
Likely not, especially without pen boots being complete. I think he had like 10 Warlock Sash stacks at the time. There's no way that's going to be the make or break, and Dineohsaw needs some help because he's getting CC'd. This might be the difference maker.
Right down the middle. It's going to hit Dineohsaw for a lot. There's a chunk coming out from the mid lane, though. Vapor gets the last hit onto Matt Koiz. Support for support. Auzrik caught off by a great wall coming out from Kaeydan, but no follow-up. Kaeydan throws the hammer way past the Hunter, and now Vapor looking to turn around. But a nice play by Jarman to keep Predators in the middle lane. Otherwise, that's a dead Hunter.
Yeah, Jarman did a great job of zoning away there. Was a great wall by Kaeydan, as you mentioned. He actually catches the dash and the beads as well. Vaporish gonna try and turn it around, but doesn't have the Aegis yet. Hadn't backed since hitting level 12. Nice play by Kaeydan on this Thor.
And that's just a punish for the way that Vapor pathed. Could have definitely taken the safer way.
Without a doubt. And sometimes when you get a pentakill the set before, you're feeling pretty good about yourself. Maybe you don't take the safer path, but in that situation, you absolutely have to without having Aegis. A little bit unfortunate that catches the dash, but I don't think the dash saves him there either way.
Auzrik in his own jungle getting just caught and jumped on top. oBoronic gets the kill off of the assist from the Osiris player. Dineohsaw now in a little bit of trouble. Heals from the Wisps, and that'll keep him alive. Level 8 on that Sylvanus as his opponent reaches level 9. Speed buff invade by Strictly Business.
It's going to go successfully in their favor. I believe Auzrik's done a good job of defending that so far. That might be the first one that went down for Strictly Business, but the key is that they've been there every single time. Auzrik has gotten nothing for free so far in this game. He's second from the bottom in XP per minute. He hasn't been able to farm very well despite being able to secure a lot of those buffs, because even if speed buff goes their way, maybe blue buff goes to Strictly Business, and even if that goes their way, then they're poked out because Strictly Business has been fighting them so much.
You know, it's interesting. So I brought up the fact that Auzrik was the first player on the squad, because so the background of this team is a lot of times, especially in younger leagues, Vapor and Matt Koiz just going at it. Matt Koiz not going to bring too much damage. You see the same pool of players just kind of washed around, and this was a new team. Ultimate out of Dineohsaw. Matt Koiz in trouble, and that's going to be a kill. Number 2 for Eanix. Nice play by Vapor. 50-meter fly is going to hit, but Fatal's able to get out of there.
Nice play there by Eanix, just punishing Matt Koiz for being a little bit too aggressive. Believe he did get that purple buff stolen away. No, actually, Auzrik is able to pick it up, so despite his aggressive positioning, still gets punished for it. Has his ultimate now, but I believe it was on cooldown. With a CC chain there, just a little bit too potent from all of Eanix, committing 4 ults to bring down the support.
Don't know if we had this conversation on air or not. But we're talking about Kaeydan playing Thor. Thor's a character, and these are your words. Thor's a character that you, when you're on, you're like hitting them. Right now, Kaeydan, thumbs up.
He's hitting them without a doubt, and that's a great sign for Strictly Business fans, because as we said coming into this game, Kaeydan has had his struggles, especially at LAN, and he looked a little bad. He looked a little out of place.
Yeah.
Bad at first whenever he first joined this roster, but he's really started to come into his own. He's clearly started to mesh well with this team, and if he's on, then Strictly Business looks nearly unstoppable. I mean, oBoronic is for my money probably the best mid laner in the league right now. Matt Koiz has a ton of LAN experience, the winningest Xbox player. He's won a billion lands, it feels like. Not the most important one, Worlds, but he's been a part of a lot of winning squads.
Yes.
Ryan Jarman's been on the come up for a while now. Many regard him as one of the best solos on Xbox behind Wolves. So this is a really talented team, but having your jungler be inconsistent is a really easy way to find inconsistent results. And that needs to be the corner that Strictly Business turns before they're ready to take a world championship.
You talk to people outside and they say SB is definitely a good team. I'm not saying they're a bad team, but they're overrated. And I feel like that's a response I've gotten from a number of players here. And nobody can really, stick their finger onto why. But I think it's there. I think it's the fact that your jungle position just isn't always on point. But again, the wall, the double tap. Kaeydan he's got the hot hand today. And if SB are going to win, it's going to be because of Kaeydan having a good day.
And Fatal Ghost needs to be consistent here at this LAN as well. One of his first showings, I believe not his overall first, but still early in his LAN career.
Right side, Predators being aggressed on by SB. And there's a pull that's going to land, but Dineohsaw seems to be all by himself. Scylla too far away, and the Sylvanus is going to be the one that's punished here. Last hit from the rotating solo lane. Ryan spent more time in the middle lane and the right side jungle than the actual solo lane itself.
Well, he's just been able to pop over, clear the wave, and then go be annoying elsewhere, and that's how a good solo laner operates.
And he's still 2 levels up.
That's the warrior pressure, man, against that Guardian solo. SB clearly have done their homework on how to deal with this Xing Chen pick that's had so much success. And because of that pressure in mid, because of Dineohsaw overextending, which has been a problem for him in the past, he gets punished for it. And then Strictly Business continues the punishment by picking up that Gold Fury. All Fatal Ghost did it all by himself.
Yeah, 14.5, 6-2. SB up about 4K. It's the easy numbers here early on in this one. Strictly Business, definitely the top card coming in, but I think Eanix has earned themselves some dark horse points after yesterday. Again, Eanix definitely capitalized off of a couple of misplays from Obey, but there is skill, and we said this yesterday, there's skill in punishing correctly, and Eanix absolutely did that.
Without a doubt. I mean, yes, did Obey kind of hand them an early lead with the way that they played the early game? Yes, I agree. But at the same time, how many NA teams have handed EU teams early leads and they don't take the bait, they don't take the fights, whatever. And Eanix is not that team. And again, Vaporish has a great individual performance that game in lane, soloing Zaxi with the pentakill. This is clearly a team with talent, but this 50-meter fly seems much less comfortable on the Scylla so far than he did on the Nox yesterday or the Raijin. I mean, kind of, but has not been able to play aggressive, has not been able to clear the lane as quickly as a Thoth. And yes, we always talk about Scylla having bad early wave clear, but in reality, hers is better than Thoth in the early game. So the fact that he's been consistently getting out pushed and being out rotated is not a good look so far for Eanix.
I feel you on that one. And I'm definitely keeping an eye on this team, this game, because this is one of those squads, and we've seen a couple on the PC side of things. We've seen a couple, even in SCL. Dineohsaw, not again. Oh, he doesn't get hit by the Terra, but he gets hit by the Thor. Stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Nice backstep.
Oh, the ultimate not going to be enough. For one more time, he falls down. The immune? They immuned it?
That Kaeydan hit the Aegis right on time. Auzrik going to be in a little bit of trouble. Now big damage coming out of all of Strictly Business, but might be able to get out. Kaeydan going to need to hit this ult.
Oh, but he misses by a mile. Auzrik's not going to be there. Kaeydan catches up, however, and does find the Zerkers. Predators falls down. Fatal Ghost with the long rotation out of the long lane. 3-0. And Strictly Business go from 6 to 9. And look for the Portal Demon as their prize.
And again, how did this start? It's Dineohsaw getting picked off. I mean, Sylvanus is not the type of god that I like to see Dineohsaw on. He's an aggressive player who needs to be able to make plays. And while Sylvanus can do that, you're also putting yourself at risk, as we've seen so far in this game. There's a reason that Dineohsaw kind of burst onto the scene internationally by playing Erlong Shen at a very high level. That's a god that can be in a bad spot, survive, make plays, CC the opposition, and keep himself alive. That's the kind of style that Dineohsaw really excels at. This Sylvanus has not worked out for him.
Meanwhile, Fatal Ghost taking out not his lane's tower. I love that idea. Ouch. I love that idea. Fatal's just like, hey, I'm here. Can I just take the solo lane? I mean, I am a Muzen Cobb. Let me do it.
They let him do it. And they're going to get another one here in the mid lane because of that poke from Kaeydan on a 50-meter fly. That was a good opportunity for Dineohsaw to try and pull Kaeydan in out of the hammer toss, but even with that might have just baited Eanix into a bad fight because of how many ultimates are available for Strictly Business, only waiting on that Terra's blessing from Matt Koiz.
Yeah, Eanix, like we said yesterday, the way they got back into the game, or after, so they had an early lead, they lose it a little bit, and they find themselves back into it, picking players off that were out of position, and then successfully finding these individual plays. And right now, I don't know if you're going to get the former against SB, so Eanix has to lean on individual play. You were talking about how it's not working out, but Scylla has to turn up here.
It has to, and now that he's got the Obsidian Shard, he's got a bigger chance to do so, and I like this idea to just rush penetration. We saw what happens when you don't get penetration early on. This is the right sort of build path for 50-meter fly in the mid lane.
These are my favorites.
What?
The mage build. I'm sorry. This is like my favorite mage build. I think that
there's no Doom Orb.
Sure. But so there were reasons to deviate and there are reasons to do things, and that's all well and good. But for my money, virtually like 95% of the time, virtually every time you're playing a mage, power, boots, pen, Tahuti. That's what I want to see.
That's what I want to see too.
Like,
That's what
almost every time.
Now, there is an argument to be made getting Tahuti 5th instead of 4th, but in some ways, I think that's a little bit too delayed. Tahuti is such a big power spike that, yes, you don't get as much out of it by going...
But you feel it.
You feel it, number one, and then you're still feeling it, the items 5 and 6, because it's still factoring in that passive, so it makes every purchase after the Tahuti that much better.
So why not buy it first?
Because... Stop it. Don't do that. Gold Fury down to below half HP, but Strictly Business going to reset it for the moment. Kaeydan trying to create that zone.
They're going to stick to... Oh, now they're changing their mind, going for the team fight. There's a Thor in the air and a Thor on the ground. Beads will prevent the stun. Vapor with a hot play right there. Still dishing out the basics and immune to the damage from the double tap. That said, 2 for Fatal Ghost, just like his exes. And he's going to retreat back to the Gold Fury. And SB take another short victory, and they'll pick up a GF.
Man, Fatal Ghost is just... We haven't really talked about him so far this game, but he has done a lot so far for Strictly Business. It was pushing the objective on the left-hand side, getting the Gold Fury all by himself, comes through Portal, gets a free tower, groups up, gets another tower, and now he's all of a sudden he's 5-0-1. And I wonder how much player damage he's taken so far, because it probably feels like 0 to him. He's had a free reign in these team fights, which is what every hunter wants.
Fatal Ghost has felt like sort of the handyman, and now he's able to party. It was just his job to do all the yard work, right? Just go take care of a tower. Go solo the Gold Fury. We're going to get all the kills and do the team fights. Just do the stuff, man. And now he turns up and he's like, listen, I'm going to get a double kill. All
exactly.
Right? It's me.
I did all my chores. Now let me have my fun.
Yeah, and he's certainly doing it. SB, you're up 10K right now at the 20-minute mark, and everything coming up Millhouse for the Purple Squad. Just looking really cute here. Matt Koiz, oBoronic, Kaeydan, Ryan Jarman, Fatal Ghosts. Looking like a really solid team. oBoronic finishes that round of Tahuti, and things are just going to get even worse for Eanix.
And this is what happens. I mean, you're a team that, you feel confident, but maybe other competitors don't feel like you're a big threat. You have a really good set where you look good in one of those games, and all of a sudden SB goes, okay, all right, we'll take you seriously, and we'll see what you got. And this is just the result of Strictly Business looking like the better team in this game. And in the draft for Eanix just doesn't really do it for me. As totally mentioned on the desk, there just isn't a lot of synergy between their picks. It feels very much like, hey, what do you want to play?
Good God.
Yeah, I'll just take one of those. Yeah,
Good God.
Sure, that's basically the whole draft. Whereas Strictly Business's draft works beautifully together. I mean, you're talking about a global ultimate for Matt Koiz that can set up Kaeydan and Ryan Jarman to chase down backliners, and they're all in the name of funneling everyone together for oBoronic to hit a big ultimate, and also to peel for Fatal Ghost. If Kaeydan and Jarman are so far in the back, no one's going to be able to get to Ghost. That's the whole idea of this composition. It's working perfectly so far.
Meanwhile, you look across the way, and there's next to no setup for the Scylla. I mean, it just seems very disjointed is the word I would use. Predators getting caught out as Strictly Business peel off of the Fire Giant 2, toss onto the tower, but it's Predators that's going to eat the dirt. Kaeydan and the Hunter one more time. Fatal Ghost, turn up, as we say in Atlanta. Matt Koiz picks up 1, and Vapor is going to be the last one alive, and guess what? It's just for the moment. Under the tower, but Kaeydan gets the hammer through the wall. 3-0-11 for the jungler that you and I were questioning earlier today. We said if Kaeydan has a good game, Strictly Business will have a good game. What do you call this?
A great game from Kaeydan, and that's exactly what Strictly Business has had. On top of that, that team fight is near Thor perfection.
Yeah.
I mean, walling off a member, putting poke onto Predators, then ulting into the back line, hitting a dunk, finishing off 1, flawless. I mean, that's exactly what you want to see out of Kaeydan.
Just wonderful play. Wonderful play. The jungler is generally the person that keeps the strategy together. Not always the glue guy of the team or whatnot, but just the person that's there to set up for the mid-mage or peel for the back line, etc. Matt Koiz just having a good old time here. I just want to watch Matt Koiz like DDR here real quick. But this Auzrik pick, and before I criticize the player, now I'm criticizing the choice of God, whether it's his or the team's, and you never know, of course. Just somebody needs to hold Fly's hand, and there's no one here to do it.
I'm just not a big fan of Warrior Jungle plus Guardian solo. When you're going to intentionally give up pressure on the right side of the map and you're putting a Warrior in the jungle that needs to get pressure early on, you're just basically putting yourself at a big disadvantage in the early game where you're going to have a lot of trouble defending your right side buffs with a Xing Chen in the solo lane. So I just don't think that pressure Warrior Jungle plus low pressure Guardian solo is a pick that I really like. I mean, we saw it with Trifecta in the final game of their run at Super Regionals in the group stage on PC, where they pick Odin jungle, Xing Chen solo. They don't get any pressure on the right side of the map because Xing Chen just is never going to get you that.
Yeah. He's a team fight monster, but not the pressure guy. Here's the question I was thinking about earlier. So as I said, Eanix, Auzrik was the one that caught my eye first, and the team sort of superseded him. But he's always the one that's being focused. So has Auzrik sort of seemed to do less work because he's focused, or is he just putting himself out of position and the team really just sort of superseded him?
I think it's more that his positioning has fallen off a little bit, and that's something that he needs to work on moving forward.
Because right now, you know, he's consistently 0-ed a lot. And that's not helping him or his team. Because like I said, I mean, this squad is a talented group, and I think they have legs. But Auzrik has to step it up. It's not going to work if he keeps playing at the level that he's playing at. And we've seen him play at a higher level, so I know it's there. 4-1 split from Strictly Business. Kaeydan in the middle lane. The rest of the team on the left-hand side. Kaeydan dragging the attention of two players, not just the jungler, but also the solo laner. So a 4 versus 3 here on the left-hand side. Ryan Jarman tanking the tower, and the AMC starting to tunnel into the Phoenix.
Fatal Ghost has so much attack speed right now with the Hives maxed out, with the Shogun's Kasari done for Matt Koiz. It's not going to be long before this Phoenix falls.
Big commit here. Vapor going to get stunned out, and there's going to be Dineohsaw. Where'd he go? Up in the sky is Thor, lands on the back line, 50-meter fly in trouble, just hanging on by a thread. Meanwhile, Vaporish Coast going to be threaded right through the needle by the mid laner. Kaeydan takes out the opposing mid laner. 3 alive on the, well, make that 1 alive. Well, we'll see you later. Game number 2, as Strictly Business hits Blackjack, and they'll target the Phoenix, the Titan, and the game.
That's just a clean performance by Strictly Business. No doubt that they were in control that entire game, and now they're going to be looking for it again in game 2.
Yelling at the opposition, certainly feeling themselves. Strong face of the coach. I don't even think he's messing around. He's just saying, look, we won. What are you going to do about it? And Strictly Business, I don't know what they're going to do about it.
I mean, they can just go back and keep doing what they're doing, because there's not a whole lot you got to change. I mean, I don't even know where the 3 deaths they had came from. Matt Koiz dies there on the last Phoenix siege. Support dying for a Phoenix in the end of the game. Cool by me. Like, you don't even have to fix that. That's Strictly Business just wrote the book on how to beat a team very cleanly in that one.
Really nice stuff coming out from Strictly Business. Putting on a clinic. That's going to be game number 1. We'll talk to Taco.
Strictly Business coming out strong in the very first match against Eanix here. And I think that it actually caught Eanix a little bit by surprise with just how much pressure Strictly Business was actually willing to exert at the start.
I mean, they had a well-rounded composition that we were talking about before the game started with this Thor, Thoth, Osiris, AMC, and Terra comp. The ban on Bastet was very questionable to me by Eanix, and I think that Eanix were ill-prepared for this game.
Yeah, like we said earlier, that Bastet ban was just kind of weird. You should have definitely got him off the Thor, because now he's looking extremely comfortable. So now is when you should be scared, because when Kaeydan is comfortable, SB is playing really well. I definitely look to see either a Thor ban or maybe get Nickwood off that Osiris.
That's a staple pick, honestly, this Thor. And honestly, this is not the same Eanix that we saw yesterday at all.
No, and I would have to agree wholeheartedly, Feared, is that this Thor selection, Kaeydan had way too much comfort. It was all about the setup then when he wanted to go in. And the thing is, when a jungler is able to determine the pacing of a match and have that much influence, that's when you know you can't let them get on this god again.
I mean, he went 5-0-13 as this Thor, not a single death in this first game, and that's the comfort that you really want out of your jungler. Having so much global pressure between the Thor and the Terra, I think is what really allowed SB to just kind of control the pacing of this game.
Yeah, Matt Koiz played absolutely great in that early game. Typically, Terra's not supposed to be that good in the early game, especially now, but he played it really well. And I think Kaeydan was just in the right position at the right time all the time, so it was great.
I don't think it was really an issue for Matt Koiz at all. He looked as though that Terra, and felt just as confident on that Terra as before but she was even nerfed. So for him to have that kind of confidence and know what he could and couldn't get away with, and just use that to position himself properly for those early engagements, that's always really crucial. But to me, another really big standout was, again, Ryan Jarman, or Nickwood, whichever you prefer to call him by. But he absolutely popped off in the solo lane and actually managed to pick up the solo kill very early on in a 1v2.
It's huge. Ryan, he was absolutely massive that game. I think he's actually a really big reason of why Kaeydan was so, successful that game, because he applied so much pressure on that side of the map that Kaeydan didn't feel like he had to be there all the time. He can kind of make a presence around the whole map, because Ryan was pretty much doing everything on that side. So
that's why they picked Osiris so early on in the drafting phase. You know, they gave up the Xing Chin to start things off, kind of expecting that to happen. And even the Koiz, they didn't want the Koiz either, because they had the Osiris in Ryan Jarman's hands.
And anytime that your solo laner has that sort of dominance over the map, we saw it time and time again, Kaeydan just made sure to use that Thor ultimate in the mid lane or dual lane exclusively, because that's just the pressure he was able to provide.
Yeah, I think they should definitely, like I said earlier, be looking to take him off this Osiris, and maybe even ban Thor, because they were doing so much work that game. I think you 100% take Kaeydan off the Thor, because they're going to pick it in the top 3 now, because they're like, you know what, I popped off on this, I'm going to go again. So I definitely look for Eanix to ban those two, or maybe, AMC and like Osiris at least.
When you guys were playing against Eanix yesterday, what did you take from that set, or how would you kind of approach it from game 1 to game 2?
Well, I would just, if I was Eanix, or SB.
If you were SB, how would you adapt more towards Eanix, even though you won that game so convincingly?
Like I said, I would definitely look to pick Kaeydan's Thor if it's still up, just because I want him to be feeling himself that game, because him, Matt, and Nick would seem to be kind of like the front run of this team. They look to be the catalyst of this team. So if they can do well, oBoronic is always going to do good. It's just all on them. Get them on what they want to be on, and then go from there.
And we actually didn't really touch too much on oBoronic yet, but that's another member. That Thoth gameplay, I raised the question, is it going to be enough setup from his team? And he realistically didn't even need it.
Doesn't need it. He's just that good. oBoronic is absolutely insane. And whatever you put him on, he's going to be awesome. So.
This is one of his most preferred gods, though, the Thoth. He's been playing it time in and time out in the online portion. Now bringing it out here in the LAN just goes to show why you should probably maybe respect Bandit.
Maybe. But like I said, oBoronic is going to be successful pretty much on anything. But it is one of his top gods. I wouldn't be surprised if they do ban it. But I want them to kind of pressure out Kaeydan a little bit. I want them to make him feel uncomfortable, because once he sees that Thor gone, he's going to be like, dude, what do I pick? So I'm looking for that.
Well, only time will tell, and they're actually